Hello, I'm Alexandra Sleator, Career Accelerator. And that means that working together, you'll get to achieve your career aspirations faster than you would on your own. We can work on a range of issues. We can of course support you to progress your career. And that could of course mean articulating a strategy that will enable you to win that promotion that you so richly deserve. But it could also be about repackaging your skills so that you can make a bid for a different role and learn something new, open your horizons. We can support you in your career right here, right now, so that then you can be positioned for further advancement at the right time. And in doing so, we can work on some fundamental skills such as time management, personal effectiveness, team motivation, change management, conflict communication, raising your visibility, making more of an impact, growing your leadership presence, just to cite a few of those core skills that help build up a career. Last but not least, we can help you make a successful return to the workforce, work on the career transition. If you've taken a career break, we can help you come back. If you would like to make a more dramatic, significant change in your career, we can help you identify that new career that will fulfill you and help you take steps so that you land that new role in that new career. The point is that no matter what your challenge, working together, we can ensure that you achieve your career goals faster than you would on your own. We will work in a time and cost efficient way together. So welcome to this new tutorial, and today I want to talk to you about personal brand. What is a personal brand? How do you go about creating it? And once you have it, how do you communicate it? Let's start with what is personal brand anyway. Well, you know the saying, reputation is what people say when you're not in the room. And indeed, in the minutes that follow, I will use the word brand and reputation pretty much synonymously. But at this moment, let me still draw a little bit of a difference between the two of them. Reputation is something that will happen to you. You already have a reputation. You may not know what it is, but it exists. It is what people say when you're not in the room, indeed, when you're not around. And so you have a reputation with your family, you have a reputation with your friends, you have a reputation at work. And all of these reputations could be slightly different one from the other. I use the word brand to designate something which is not passive, something which is not accidentally arrived at, like a reputation. The word brand refers to something that you work towards, that you strive to make happen. And in fact, the word personal brand, also known sometimes as individual branding, self-positioning, self-marketing, they date back to 1937 in a book written by a gentleman with the interesting name of Napoleon Hill. And the book is called Think Rich and Grow. Quite a famous book, quite a seminal book really. And in it, he talks about personal brand, and he explains that to create a brand involves creating an asset, which is the combination of an individual's unique physical attribute, their body shape, their appearance, their clothing, as well as unique areas of knowledge. And that combination leads to what he calls a distinguishable, positive, and memorable impression. So that's personal brand. So the point of this tutorial is for me to encourage you to think about, what is your reputation today? Do you even know it? Do you want to have a certain brand? And if so, how can you go about conveying it? What do you want to be known for in the office? What do you want to be your legacy? But beyond leaving a mark after you leave, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be identified as, so that the right opportunities come your way? And that is what branding is about. It's about winning the attention of people. And the retailers that are, harassing us with all these advertising are trying to catch our attention so that we buy their product. And so in a similar way, having a personal brand allows you to promote yourself and get the right opportunities to come your way in a professional fashion. So now that we know what a personal brand is relative to a reputation, then how can one go about creating the kind of brand that one wants? Here are a few questions that I'm going to share with you in order to help you think through what your brand could be. So here goes. What unique value do you bring to the table? This should be something that you alone can provide, either a unique twist on something already existing or something completely new. When you think here, consider your skills, of course, qualifications and aptitude, but also think broadly about your distinctive capabilities. Another question is, what problems can you solve better than anyone else? And here is the concept of specialization, which I want to bring to the fore. Specialization is quite important in branding. Third question, what are you deeply passionate about? Pick a topic that you could talk about for hours and hours and hours. Clients and colleagues will sense passion in your voice very quickly. What is your purpose? What do you stand for? What would you like to be remembered for by the time your employment with this particular company comes to an end? Again, as I've mentioned, consider what your legacy could be. I hope that these questions help you to connect to what is personally resonant for you about who you are. Those are unique areas of knowledge that Napoleon Hill was talking about. But let me also encourage you not just to reflect by yourself. Go out and ask others for feedback. Find out about the elements of your reputation today. When you find something that you like, that's great, you can keep it in your brand. When you find something that you're less enthused about, this is the opportunity for you to think about how you're going to change people's mind about your brand. So then when you have done that piece of thinking and you're gathering all this data from other people, sit down and write it all down. You may have a very long list, don't worry about it, just write everything that comes to mind, everything that you've heard from others. Once you have a sense that your list is complete, it's time to try to trim it down indeed. And in that way, the first thing to do is to look for clusters of words. Of all the things that you've noted down, which words can be grouped together because they have the same thematic resonance. So group your clusters and give a name to each cluster. Give a name that is a word that is the most representative of all the words in that subgroup. And keep only those words. You will see, of course, that some words don't lend themselves to being grouped with anything. It's okay, just keep them. So now you're at a second list, which is a smaller list that has only the words that designate the clusters, as well as the words that didn't fit in any clusters. Now with this second list, rank order it. Put at the top all the words that you feel much more strongly about. And so rank order your list. And when you've done that, keep only the top. Ideally the top 5, 7, but clearly no more than 10. You have now the components of your brand, those top 5, 7, maximum 10 words that are going to be the core ingredients of your brand. Now at this stage there's really two options around what I do with people. Now if you think of brands out there, Nike, just do it, or Diet Coke, just for the fun of it. But all the brands are associated with statements, so you could write your own statement. And I don't mean something as, light-hearted as just do it or for the fun of it. Something a little bit more lengthy, and that would contain at least a part, if not all, of those top words at the end of your rank ordering exercise. So you could weave a statement, and I call this statement a manifesto. This is who you are, this is who you want to sell, this is what you want to be remembered for, this is what you stand for. Another way sometimes of describing that is an elevator speech, something that you can say under 3 minutes, ideally it would be even less than that, and that really summarizes your unique features. But not everyone is comfortable with a manifesto, an elevator pitch. And so in that sense it's okay to stay with just words. But let's not just keep the words on the list let's challenge him a little bit, because you see, we want the most appropriate words for you, the most personally resonant words. So with those words, what I ask clients is to think of, first of all, antonyms to those words, but also role models. So that top word on your list, the one that you did the ranking exercise, the one that's the product of that. So that top word, what is the opposite of that word? And who does it remind you of? And through that process of discussing, maybe that word gets challenged and it gets refined. Sometimes not, and that's great because it means that is absolutely the right word. But sometimes it gets modified, refined. And that's great because that word that comes from that challenging process is even more appropriate. So in the end, whether you end up with a manifesto that really tells about who you are, or you end up with just a list of words, but those are the words for you, here you are, you have your brand. Now it's time to communicate it. But actually I would argue that that process of creating the brand has already been a form of communication to yourself. You are now aware of your brand, and it will influence your mindset, it will influence your behavior in a way that would never happen if you had not gone through the process of thinking about your brand to try to articulate it. So indeed, you will start to manifest, to showcase your brand more unconsciously anyway. But let me encourage not to just leave it at the unconscious, implicitly manifest level. Let me encourage you, to showcase it more actively. And indeed, on occasions at work where you have an opportunity to be visible, then think about showcasing your brand. And in that sense, becoming known for a particular way of approaching issues, of addressing topics, of looking at problems, of resolving issues. So when you have an important email to write, not one of these ping-pong emails, but one that several people will read. When you have a memo to compose that again will have a fairly large audience, and when you are making a presentation that you hope will be well attended, or you have a chance at speaking at a meeting where several others are also there, then think about what element of your brand you want to showcase so that you create that impression that you want. And of course, as we all know, branding is a process that involves repetition. But if what you repeat is a behavior that is always sending the same message, then indeed, gradually over time, you will become known for being the behavior that you are showcasing. You will have the kind of brand over time that you want. Some of it will happen more, some elements will maybe land with people more quickly than others. But don't give up. And now, of course, fundamental to the process of building a brand is, again, feedback. Just as feedback is important in creating the brand in order to know where your starting point is anyway, what it is very important in the communication of the brand, in the building of the brand, because you get to see whether the impression that you're trying to make is indeed the one that people are receiving. That way you can identify gaps, and you can quickly try to take remedial actions so that you don't get the bad reputation you don't want. So feedback is essential. Now, in talking to you about brand, I have talked to you a lot about behavior that you control in order to showcase your unique abilities. And indeed, that's the part, again, that Napoleon Hill called unique areas of knowledge. But remember that Napoleon Hill also talked about the fact that there's a physical dimension to brand, your looks, how you dress, your body posture. So that's all body language, clothing, and all of that has impact. So while I haven't talked particularly about that aspect, I want to make sure before I close this short tutorial to mention that this is also part of how you brand yourself. So think about your clothes and the image that this creates. And think in particular about any dissonance between your non-verbal cues and the behavior that you're trying to have to convey a certain brand. Make sure there is no conflict. And in particular, when you meet someone for the first time, remember that first impressions are very much about body language, non-verbal communication, and in that sense, this is a unique opportunity for you to quickly convey your brand when you first meet someone, because you're like a blank page to them, but be mindful that your body language could get in the way. So think about that as well. So there you have it, a few tips on personal branding, on how to clarify, how to articulate a personal brand in the first instance, and then how to go about communicating, to showcasing that brand with others so that they do form that memorable, positive, unique impression of you that you want. What did you think? Is personal brand something that you're trying to have? Are you aware, anyway, of what your reputation is today in the office, and is that something you're happy with? And if not, have you a sense of how you could go about correcting it? If personal brand is not something you've given some thought to before, I hope that this will have indeed given you food for thought, and that you will be able to move forward in creating your brand and then conveying it to others. As always, I would love to hear from you, so please feel free to either comment below the video or to simply send me an email. My address is appearing on your screen right now, and just let me know your thoughts and your experiences around personal branding. In any event, many thanks for listening. I hope again this was value adding. I'll look forward to seeing you again very shortly for more tips on how to build up your career. Thank you very much again. Take good care. Bye-bye.